Om Shri Sadgurave Namah. Hello viewers, Jai Guru, Radha Swami, Vahe Guru, Satya Ram Sa, Namaste. Welcome to the second part of the talk on Santmat Satsang. I express my sense of deep gratitude for the love and affection with which you received the first part. I got some very positive and encouraging feedback from viewers, which gave me heart to come up with the second part. Hope and pray that you would like it too. So I begin with the regular invocation with which I commence every spiritual presentation or talk of mine. So let me share the screen. The invocation. I bow down at the holy lotus feet of true Guru, whose words of wisdom are like the mighty sunbeams to dispel the darkness of ignorance. Guru, the beneficence personified, takes the disciple to meet the Supreme Being. I offer my humblest obeisance again and again to such a benevolent Guru. Blessed is Guru, whose glory is indescribable in words. Whatever little I could or would say is only because of his compassionate grace. Jai Guru. I hope you can see my screen. It is clearly visible and legible. So this is the second part. What we propose to do in this is, first, we'll try to have a brief recapitulation of whatever we had discussed in the first part, and then we'll begin to discuss the true nature of God. What is his true nature? Because it is essential to understand the concept of God as has been visualized by the realized sages, so that we could also find ways to attain to such a God. So, first, let us begin with a brief recap of part 1. We had seen that Santmat is a compound word made of two words, Sant and Mat. Sant means, as it is the plural of Sat, that is the one only, unchangeable, eternal, ultimate truth. And therefore, being plural, Sant is a collective noun to represent all such fully realized or awakened beings from wherever they might be. And Mat means views or opinion or teachings or way or path. And therefore, Santmat refers to the views or teachings or the path of fully realized sages. Rishis, as they were called in Vedic period or Upanishadic era, came to be known as sants in modern times. And we have seen that Upanishads, they continue to be the terra firma or the bedrock of Santmat, because therein we can find the two loftiest methods of ensuring or enabling merger identification with the Supreme Sovereign, that is Sushumna Dhyan or the Yoga of Inner Light, and Nadanasandhan or Surat Shabd Yoga or Yoga of Inner Sound. In modern times, it is Sant Tulsi Sahib who is believed to have first coined the term or used the term Santmat, and therefore he is known as the founder Sant or the first exponent of Santmat in modern times. Then Santmat is not as a sectarian view, it is not restricted to any one particular group of sages. Rather, it is a general, all embracing, accommodative, and syncretist school of thought which accommodates and respects views or teachings of sants from all over the world, of whatever region or religion, of all times and climes. Though the term Santmat as it is more popular in North India, but the very spirit of it includes essence of teaching of all saints. It is universal in spirit, and as we have seen, it is harmonious. It tries to harmonize and accommodate and assimilate and embrace the basic teachings, okay, excluding the exteriors which might look or sound different. It takes into account it as a sifts out that which is the main in teaching of all these saints, and that is Santmat, and therefore it includes the wisdom of all sacred scriptures and religious traditions worldwide. It firmly believes that there is one only eternal, infinite, all-pervading entity which is beyond time and space and which could be called by various names. To realize such an entity, what is needed first is a suitable preceptor who has himself fulfilled the journey, accomplished the task completely, and therefore is in a position to teach what he has experienced, he or she has experienced. So, a perfect preceptor and then a receptor. And after the tact or the skill has been learned, what it takes is regular and assiduous practice of inner meditation, supported by, reinforced with a proper living, proper way of living, which includes a life of high moral rectitude or virtuosity and a self-supporting living, self-reliant living. Because nowadays, gone is the age when one would depend on begging alms. So these are some of the basic principles of Santmat that we had seen in the previous uh, talk, and what remained to be covered in this series had been enlisted in the previous part also. You can just have a quick look through all these things. And what we are going to discuss in this part of the talk, part of this series, is the first point, that is true nature of the Supreme Being. So this we are going to focus. Of course, this is not such a topic which can be covered in a single talk. Therefore, we'll distribute it over a number of talks. Okay, slowly and slowly, part by part, we'll try to understand, conceptualize what is or how the sages or sants have visualized the concept of God. What actually is God? What are his attributes, though he is attributeless, what are the virtues that could be associated with such a God? All these things we'll try to discuss one by one in this and subsequent talks. So let us begin. True nature of God. To understand the concept of God, let us first have a look at things and beings around us. And if we do so, we'll realize that whatever we see in this universe around us, it could be small or big, but everything that exists, every being that exists is limited, is bounded, it has limits or fixed boundaries, both in terms of time as well as in space. Therefore, this whole nature is finite. Okay? That is, if you look at our body, it has got a definite boundary, a definite outline, so it is finite in shape and size. The house or the homes we live in also have their typical shapes and boundaries. The city, the district, the state, the country that we live in also is limited and has fixed boundaries, so it is finite. The earth on which all human beings live also has got a definite size and shape. And the solar system, the whole solar system, including the sun and all other planets that belong to it, they also have a definite size. And so is the galaxy, the Milky Way, of which an extremely small part is this whole say solar system, which otherwise looks so vast to us. The galaxy Milky Way is, we can say, practically infinite times larger than the size or extent of the solar system. But still, we know that this is not the only galaxy. We have so many galaxies. That is, each of the galaxy also has got its limits, its boundaries. So everything here is limited in terms of space or the place that it occupies. Okay, this is known as say in Sanskrit they call it Desha Kala Vachinna Satta. Vichinna means which is limited by, covered by what? Desh, that is space, and Kal, that is time. So everything here is limited, is finite in terms of space as well as in terms of time. In terms of space, we just now saw how everything is limited. In terms of time also, everything is limited. Like say, I took birth on a certain time, date, and year. Before that, this body that is known as, called as Pravesh, did not exist. There was no existence. Suppose we talk of Mahatma Gandhi, whose birthday, great person, was yesterday. So he was born on 2nd October 1869. And if somebody went back in time on 1st October 1869 and asked about the whereabouts of Mahatma Gandhi, then the reply he would have got is, who is this Mahatma Gandhi you are talking of? We don't know of any such person. He simply does not exist. And then he expired. He fell to the bullets of a person on 30th January 1948. After that, if we go looking, searching for Mahatma Gandhi, again we'll not be able to find him. So the body that was called Mahatma Gandhi was limited in terms of time. That is, it was bounded on both sides, beginning as well as end. 2nd October 1869, again in terms of hours and minutes and seconds, also there must have been some data. And then again, he died on 30th January 1948. So his life in that particular birth was limited in terms of time, that is kala. Similarly, that which seems to be very long lived, suppose the earth, which is inhabited by billions and billions of different species of life, is it not finite in terms of time? Science tells us that it is a few billion years old only when it's separated out of sun. And we also know that it is not going to last forever and ever. A few billion years from now, again, the earth will not be there. Even the sun, which is getting colder by every day that passes, because more and more number of hydrogen molecules, they are combining to form helium, resulting in, say, dissipation of heat, release of heat. So number of hydrogen molecules that are present in sun, they are getting reduced every moment. And finally, the sun will get cold. One scientist from India, he had got a Nobel Prize. He was awarded with Nobel Prize, Chandrasekhar. So what he is known as, he had given what is known as Chandrasekhar limit, which tells us that every star has a fixed life. It grows, 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 and finally collapses under its own weight. The whole universe, which appears to be immeasurable in extent, science tells us that it started with a big bang. What does that mean? That before that big bang happened, this universe had not come into existence. So everything evolved after that big bang and nothing existed before that. So we know the starting point in terms of time, and somewhere at some point in space that should have started. So therefore, this whole universe, which consists of an uncountable number of stars, okay, many of which are thousands or lakhs of times larger than the sun, all this did not exist certain time ago, and it is certain that it will not exist after certain time. The time span may be, say, big or short. There are some insects which die in a few seconds or minutes, whereas we have creatures like tortoise, etc., which live on for hundreds of years. And then we have these stellar bodies which will exist for billions of years. So life could be big or small, but it is bound to end sometime, somewhere. So therefore, we made this observation that all that we see in the universe around us, small or big, is limited or bounded both in terms of time as well as in terms of space. And the second thing is, okay, that any number of additions or mergers of finites cannot create an infinite. Because a very natural question that comes to our mind is that, okay, something is this big. So what lies beyond that? I live in a particular city. So what lies outside that? We know it is another city or another state. Then what lies beyond the state I live in, beyond the country I inhabit, I am a citizen of, beyond the earth that I share with billions of other fellow beings? What lies beyond earth? What lies beyond, say, solar system? What lies beyond Milky Way? What lies beyond all other galaxies where everything ends? And if we go on asking this question, what beyond, what beyond, what beyond, then this will become an endless query, endless question, until and unless we admit, we assume at least that there exists something which is infinite. At least there is an existence, there is the existence of an infinite entity. Unless and until we consider the existence of such an infinity, then this question will not leave us. It will never cease. Okay. So therefore, the moment we assume that there is something which exists, which is infinite, again, when I say infinite, I mean infinite in terms of space as well as time. So this, at least as an hypothesis, we have to assume. And you know, all big discoveries of science, they started with hypothesis first. Okay, when Newton saw an apple falling from a tree, then a hypothesis came to his mind. Maybe this earth pulls things towards its center, towards itself. And then he went on to test his hypothesis with numerous examples. And once he found that, yes, everything falls in line with this particular hypothesis, then he came up with a law, Newton's law of, or Newton's theory of gravity. So similarly, here also we have to begin with consideration of an infinite being. And we must remember, and all of us will agree, that we cannot create an infinite by adding or merging large number of finites. Because regardless of the number of these finite things we go on adding together, will not be able to create an infinite. Even if we add billions, trillions, quadrillions, pentillions of such finite things, ultimately, when we'll stop, somewhere we'll stop adding. The moment you stop adding, at the other side of that periphery, you can see where it ends. Like say in this diagram, I don't know, it might be say copyrighted, so I beg apologies from the original say owners of this image, which I have taken from Google. So with all due apologies and acknowledging all the due credits of the original owner of this diagram, I'm just seeking the help to show you that as you go on adding number of such finite things, and you can create a megalith of say very big finite being, but however big it could be, around its periphery, around its say boundary, circumference, certainly we will be able to identify its finiteness or limits. And therefore, by just adding any number of finites, we cannot create an infinity. In fact, infinity cannot be created because there is an axiomatic law. There's an axiom. Whatever is created is bound to be destroyed at some point of time, sooner or later. So therefore, it is a Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna in Gita says that he who is born is sure to die, and he who dies is sure to be born again. The cycle of births and deaths continues incessantly because birth is one side of a coin, on the other side of which is written death. So birth and death go hand in hand. Okay. So whatever is born is doomed to death. So infinity can be that only which does not get born, who does not birth. That is, its beginning point cannot be determined, cannot be identified in terms of either in terms of time or in terms of space. It started from here, this place, or it started at this point of time. This can never be said of an infinity. From when, since when it has been existing, can't be said, can't be known. And therefore, that which does not take birth will not die also. It always exists. Rather, we say it is. It always is. That is what is infinity. So, an infinity, an infinite being, such an infinite entity that we try to understand in principle, okay, has been called by rishis, by sages, by sons, as say different names have been used to allude to such an infinite entity, infinite being, as Parameshwar. Param jod Ishwar. Param means absolute, perfect, and Ishwar, it comes from Ish, and Ish is formed of it, which means to rule, to control. So Ishwar is someone which governs, which rules. That is, everything is within its control. And highest variety of that, such a controlling authority, the ultimate controlling authority, is known as Parameshwar, Param Ishwar, or Sarveshwar. Sarva means all. So one who is Ishwar or Lord of all, Sarveshwar, or Paramatma. Atman means self or soul. Paramatman, absolute, supreme soul, or God, or Allah, or Khuda. Khuda also refers to the same thing. It has got a connotation that Khuda has come from Khud, that is, that which exists of its own. It does not owe its existence, its birth to anything else. It just is. So that is Khuda, or as in Zoroastrianism, that ultimate as a power has been referred to as Ahurmazd or Ahura Mazda or Ormuzd or Hormazd. There are so many different versions of the term available. Then of say Jewish people, it is known as amongst them it Jehovah or Jehovah, Supreme Sovereign Lord, or in Buddhism you will say find a term Nibbana or Nirvana. Nirvana means liberation from all the cravings, desires, etc. So, such a state of being, it is, we'll see in subsequent lectures, it is the same as that which is known as God or Parameshwar or say Paramatma, etc. So there are some people who opine that, say, Buddhism and Jainism, they were atheistic schools of thought. That is, they did not believe in the existence of God, but a close study of these, say, teachings of Lord Buddha and Mahavir would very clearly indicate that this is not true. Though they did not directly use the term Ishwara, but they always have explained and referred to, alluded to the concept that is represented by Ishwara or God. So that is why I said it is futile to get entangled into the semantics of it. Okay, there is no use fighting over words. Whatever pleases us, say a Sant from Rajasthan, uh, Dadu Dayalji, he said that infinite or uncountable are the names of that Supreme Lord. Whatever pleases you, take that name. Don't fight over it. Then we'll also see that that which is infinite, how many infinites, how many infinities we could have. So if we understand the term infinity as clearly, then we'll surely agree that infinity can be one only. It has to be non-dual. It has to be advait. A means not, and dvait means say two or more, where differentiation occurs. So infinity cannot be differentiated. It is one whole, one complete whole, which cannot be divided into pieces. That is known as akhand. Okay, so infinity can be one only. If, for the sake of argument, let us assume that there are two infinities. Just for the sake of argument, if we assume that there be two infinities, then the question would arise that where would the second infinity begin? See, two comes only after one. So when second infinity would begin when the first will come to an end. Okay, where we can come to the end or limits of the first, either in terms of space or in terms of time, only then we can find the second infinity. And the moment we are able to recognize, we are able to identify the boundary of anything, the limits of anything, then its infiniteness gets lost. It no longer remains infinite, and therefore it cannot be infinity. So, therefore, we have to agree that infinity can be one only. It can be a non-dual entity only. And that is why it has been said that God or Ishwara, Sarveshwar, is the one only. Eko, Eko Saha. He is one only. There is no second like him. There cannot be anything second. Okay, the moment you assume that there are two, then you are referring to something which could be mesmerizing, okay, which could be a very great, divine, supernatural, but it cannot be that supreme sovereign Lord. He has to be one only, that is infinite. So I think we have said there must be a limit to the talk. Otherwise, one talk, if it becomes long enough, then it becomes soporific, boring. So we'll develop this concept in the coming lectures, and we'll see that only if we agree with, we acknowledge that there exists one infinite being, then many of the exclusive qualities or virtues that are often associated with God or any other name you could choose, okay, becomes obviously explainable, understandable. Once we believe in the existence of an infinite being, all other virtues that are associated with him come to our mind very clearly, in a crystal clear way. How is that? That we will be seeing in the next lecture, next talk. I hope I have been able to make the point so far as the concept of the need of considering one non-dual infinity is concerned. Again, I'll request, as I had done in the first lecture, that if whatever you feel honestly about this talk, please mention your views in the comment box. And if you think that there is something which could be done, if you have some ideas which could increase the utility, increase the effectiveness or productivity of this talk, they are welcome. They are heartily welcome. Again, thank you all for all the patient listening you have given thus far. Thank you. Jai Guru, Vaheguru, Radha Swami, Namaste. We'll meet again soon in the next lecture.